This is a video from the Chapter 6 review. The directions say to sketch the region enclosed by the given curves and find the area. In problem 1, we have y equals the absolute value of x and y equals 1 minus 2x squared. Y equals the absolute value of x is in the shape of a V, which I've put in blue. And then y equals 1 minus 2x squared is a parabola that I've put in red, where if you notice the vertex is at 0, 1. Now, notice how I drew the rectangle in red, right? I'm of course highlighting it in black, but here's my rectangle. The height of the rectangle is 1 minus 2x squared minus the absolute value of x. So I took the top function and subtracted the bottom function. The width is dx. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to find the limits of the integral. And this is what we do. We're going to set the absolute value of x equal to 1 minus 2x squared. Now, to solve that, we do the following. We're going to square both sides. When I square both sides, I get rid of the absolute value. And so x squared is equal to 1 minus 2x squared raised to the second. So x squared is 1 minus 4x squared plus 4x to the fourth. Subtract x squared on both sides. And when I write this, I get 4x to the fourth minus 5x squared plus 1 equals 0. Now I get to factor. Now, when I factor, I get the following. So let's see if we can try this. I'm going to first put a 4x squared and an x squared. So notice how 4x squared times x squared is 4x to the fourth. And then I'm going to go minus 1, right? And then this is equal to 0. So 4x squared minus 1 equals 0, or x squared minus 1 equals 0. So x squared equals 1 over 4, or x squared equals 1. So x is plus or minus 1 over 2, or x is plus or minus 1. Now we have to check, right? You have to check. So what do we originally have? We have the absolute value of x is 1 minus 2x squared. And so if I check x equal 1, right, I'm going to say the absolute value of 1 equals 1 minus 2 times 1 squared. And what that says is 1 equals negative 1, which doesn't make any sense. And so, therefore, x can't be 1. Now, if we check x equal negative 1, what happens? Well, we have the absolute value of negative 1, right, equals 1 minus 2 times negative 1 squared. And so 1 equals negative 1, which doesn't work. And so x can't be negative 1. And when we squared both sides, we picked up some what are called extraneous solutions. And so it does turn out, I will claim, that x is going to equal plus or minus 1/2. Okay, now let's go back to our picture. So here's why here's x, okay? We have y equals the absolute value of x, and we have y equals 1 minus 2x squared. And remember, we had our rectangle here. So the area is the integral from negative 1/2 to 1/2 of, I'm going to get 1 minus 2x squared minus the absolute value of x. So in other words, I took the top function and then I subtracted off the bottom function. Now, here's the tricky part. Remember, the absolute value of x is x where x is greater than or equal to 0. It's negative x for x less than 0. That's tricky because we have to break this up at the origin. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go from 0 to 1/2 of 1 minus 2x squared minus x. So in other words, I can leave the absolute value off and not have to do anything with it. So from 0 to 1/2, the absolute value of x is x, right? This is 1/2. From here, this is negative 1/2. But if I go from negative 1/2 to 0, I'm going to get 1 minus 2x squared minus negative x. Okay? And so this is x minus 2/3 x cubed minus 1/2 x squared, evaluated from 0 to 1/2. Then I'm going to go plus. Then I get x minus 2/3 x cubed plus 1/2 x squared from negative 1/2 up to 0. Plug 1/2 in for x. You get 1/2 minus 2/3 of 1/8 minus 1/2 of 1/4. And if I plug 0 in for x, I get 0. If I plug 0 in for x, I get 0. If I plug negative 1/2 in for x, I get negative 1/2 minus 2/3 times negative 1/8 plus 1/2 times 1/4, like this. So if I take 1/2 and I subtract off negative 1/2 right here, so I'm subtracting negative 1/2, I get 1. So I'm going to cross off these guys here. Then I'm going to go minus 2 over 24 minus 1 over 8. Okay. And then I have plus 2 over 24, but it's minus. So I get minus 2 over 24 minus 1 over 8. Okay. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 8 is 24. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8. And so if I go forward, I get 1 minus, and then I get 4 over 24 minus 2 over 8. So this is 1 minus 1 over 6 minus 1 over 4. The lowest common denominator is 12. So I get 12 over 12 minus 2 over 12 minus 3 over 12. And so the correct answer here is 7/12. And that's how we do problem number 1 on the Chapter 6 review. Thank you.